Hey guys, welcome to this tutorial. My name's Timster. Today I'm going to be showing you guys how you can go about adding interaction type 2 into your games in the Blender game engine. So, not too long ago I went and made a tutorial for interaction type 1. So this is for like opening doors or chests, or basically when your player walks up to something and presses a button, then an action happens. So that was in interaction type 1, we used doors for that example, and in interaction type 2, which is obviously a lot more complex, it uses inventories, or an inventory system. So that's what we're going to be going into today. Basically, we probably won't be covering consuming or consumables or consuming objects like health potions or stuff like that, but more solid objects that you can pick up and put down and stuff like that. And because, if you can see, just even by text definition, interaction type 2 is a lot more complex, or has a lot more writing compared to interaction type 1, so we might need to split this up. Now before we go any further, here's a demo. If you notice down here, it can get, using logic bricks, this can get incredibly messy. You'll have hundreds of these. I mean, this is just for what, one sensor? Oh, I guess it's all connected up, but either way, then you have your overlay and you have crazy amounts of logic bricks. So basically what I'm doing here is I'm showing you guys that it is possible just using logic bricks, but I recommend you guys go ahead and learn how to do it in Python if you want to do it efficiently and want your game working sort of at top notch. Also, there's probably some other pros compared to this, like with Python, like probably you can customize it by changing a couple lines of code here and there. So yeah, again, this is just showing you guys it's possible just with logic bricks, but yeah, just a warning, it's going to get really messy and all over the place. So now that's out of the way, we'll go look at our really big demo here. So basically what I've done, I think this is nearly the complete version, still working on it, but basically what we have here is when we press P, we have all these different objects scattered around, and if we walk up to them, get within a certain distance, we can press a button. And then if you notice on the left hand side, the property donut changes to true. Now if you watch the property monkey, when I press E, that will change to true as well. And as we pick up each object, the properties change. Now if we press M to bring up our menu, we have all the available objects which we have picked up so far. So that's all of them. So now just to demonstrate again, if I walk up to this one, pick it up, then it gets added to our inventory. And because we've sort of changed it to a property, we can now go and spawn it in on something else with using that property and converting it. That's all that done. That's what we'll be doing part of that today. So we're gonna go File New and reload a startup file. Then what we're going to do is press X to, I'll just turn this on, X to delete the cube, and then Shift A, add a plane, just call it floor, whatever. It's just something for the character to move around in. And change to Blender Game, select actor, oh that should be fine. Change it to GLSL under the render settings, and a frame rate of 60. Now we're going to need a FPS setup, so hopefully, in the description should be a link. I pretty much use it almost every single video, so if it's not in this one, go check back a video and there should be a link there. So I'm just going to go find it. And then once you found it, it should look something like that. Then if you go into object, we're going to select, actually not body, we're just going to select camera, feet, and head, because we don't need a body sensor. Then we're going to select our head here and drag it back, select our camera, X and delete. And we're going to press 0 on the numpad, and that should go into camera view. Now if we go down here, change it to textured, go into camera view again, and we press P, we should be able to move around, and yeah, look around as well. If that's not working, then something's gone horribly wrong, and you should probably try that again. Once we've got that working, we're going to change it to game logic up here, and as you can see, there will already be sensors and stuff. We should probably change them to true just quickly, and yep, that should be fine. Now we're going to have to add a property here called player. This is basically for all the object sensors to sense, so if it collides with the property player, which is the player's feet. Now the next thing you'll need to do is get some objects for your game. I highly suggest you guys don't do more than 10 objects for this. I mean, I use 7, and the amount of links in the overlay scene and stuff was just crazy. So I'm just going to add in my 7 objects here. So I know you can, whatever number you want. Yeah, the lesser is the easier it sort of is on the system. Just means less logic bricks. So I'm going to add a cube, then I'm going to add a sphere, and then I'm going to add an icosphere, and I'm going to add an icosphere, turn down the subdivisions just to get a bit more variation. Then add a cylinder, turn that down. And so basically, you might have this, say, be a torch, and this be an apple, and this be a key, and yeah, it can basically be anything. I'm just quickly adding in random objects because, yeah, I haven't pre-modeled any. So we're going to add all our objects in. That's one more. So torus. And there we go, there's all our 7 objects. Now we're going to go call them names, not meanly, but we're going to name them. So cube seems fine for this one. I'm going to call this one ball, as it is a bit more sort of, you don't hear people referring to round objects as spheres as often as balls, so I'm just going to call it that. Icosphere I'm going to call crystal, like before. This one could be a block of wood, possibly. I'm going to call it that. Then this cone is, yeah, I really don't know what else that could be, so it can just stay cone. This can be monkey, just to make it a bit more easier, because not everyone knows who Suzanne is. And I'm going to change this torus to donut, because it sort of looks like a donut. You can select smooth on any of the objects if you want to make them look smoother, but some of them sort of fit not looking smooth. Okay, cool. So now we have our 7 objects. We are going to go up here, and we're going to click copy settings, and we're going to call this overlay. Then we're going to click here, click on scene, and call it main. Then we're going to select our camera, add an always sensor, add a scene actuator, and we're going to add an overlay scene, and it's going to be overlay. Join the 2 up, and I guess you can set that on true just to make sure it works. So there we go, that should be working fine. Now we need to go to overlay and start messing around with stuff. So we're going to add a camera, then we're going to press Alt R to get rid of the rotation, then GZ and move it up on the Z axis, and press numpad 0. And yeah, should get a view something like that. You don't want it zoomed out too far, but not too far in either. Then we're going to press Shift A, and we're going to add our menu first. So depending on how many objects you have, you're going to have to scale this plane differently. So because I have 7, I might want it roughly going from there to there. Then I'm going to press Ctrl R to add a loop cut, and add one there, and one there, just off the center a little bit, like so. Then I'm going to cut, or add sides to this, so add loop cuts here, and the tops as well. So just Control R and then click and drag and click again. Then we're going to cut these in half again, so drag like that and drag like that. And oh, that wasn't good. We need to click and drag slightly that way, and yeah, just to even them out. So now we have 4 and we need 8. So cut each of these in half again. And we actually only need 7, but we can delete one afterwards. So that should work fine. This is just to get them evenly spaced. So get all of those done. Now we don't need this last one, so box select all those vertices and press X and delete. There we go. Now we can press SX and scale it a bit more just to even it out. And now we can go into face select mode. Select one, hold down shift, select, oh, not that one. Select the middle faces that you don't want, and then once all of them are selected, press X and delete faces. There we go, that part's done. Now to start off with, we want an animation, so when you press the button, say M or escape or whatever you want to press, a menu pops up. So yeah, just an option to hide a menu or not. This can be any key. So first of all, what we're going to do is call this menu, then we're going to drag up here, we're going to add a timeline, we're going to go to frame 0, and we want this to be completely invisible on frame 0, so we're going to drag that down and press I, insert location, and we want this animation to be fairly fast, so frame 20 I think worked well, and yeah, basically on frame 20 dragging it up to the full height, something like that, and press I, insert location. If you really want to sort of add a little cool little animation, you can go back to maybe 3 frames and just move it slightly further up than the finished frame and insert location. What that basically does is it just sort of clicks into place. If we press play, like that. I know, you might not want to have that, you might just want it uniform. Whatever, do whatever you want. Then, once we have that going, we're going to add action actuators, menu action, and this one starts at frame 20. So it goes from frame 0 to frame 20, and so this one is, we'll just call it up, and call this one down, so we know what they are. Now one starts at 20 and ends at 0. So there we go, those two done. Now we need to add a property. This is called menu. Basically, it's just sensing whether the player has pressed menu or not. Okay, so on this side we're going to have to add 2 property sensors and a keyboard. So this one's going to be called, oh no, true, and the other one's going to be called false. Both going to be for the property menu, and true and false. Make sure you have the capital letter, well, it might not matter, but just in case. Then we're going to select M for the keyboard on tap. We're going to add an AND actuator and another one. I'm going to join the keyboard controller to both of them, like so, and minimize, like that. And we can join that up. So if we press a keyboard and it's equal to true, we want it to go down. So make sure you have down there. Oh no, if it's down here, just drag it down there. Yeah, you can just push them around with that. Then the other one joins to up. And if we have that working, and you go into your render settings here and click debug properties and click this I here, when we press P, should pop up in the left corner. Now if we press M, we should have our menu pop up, but we need 2 more property actuators on this side. So 1, 2 is going to assign menu to true, and this one's going to assign menu to false. So when it goes down, it's going to set it to false. When it goes up, it's going to set it to true. There we go. Now if we press P and press M, when it's true, menu pops up. When it's false, menu goes down. There we go. Nice and basic. So you can press Ctrl S and save it as inventory or whatever you want to save it as. Then the next thing we're going to need is some icons. So if we go into this main scene here, we can see we have all our objects, and preferably you might want to go into, say, GIMP or Photoshop and paint yourself versions of these, but I'm just going to be lazy and re-add them in and just use the proper objects. So I'm going to add a cube, and I'm going to move it over here. Actually drag to frame 20 so we have the open inventory, and we can press S to scale and just drag it in here. Somehow that will be fine. Leave some space under here for writing describing what the object is. Then we're going to add a UV sphere. You can set it to smooth if you like, and press S again to fit it nicely in there. Then Shift A, add an icosphere, press S, and there we go. Basically we're doing this for each one of our items that we can pick up. So RX90 to rotate it, then S, and I'm just scaling. Hopefully you know how to do the basics. There we go, just RX90 until it fits the right rotation. Or you could do RX minus 90, but yep, there we go. So RX minus 90, there we go, perfect rotation, and we're just going to move it in there, do the last one. And there we go, there's all our icons. Now we're going to need, well, first of all, just to add your own little touch, you might want to add color to them and stuff. So you have sort of two options here. One option is to just click shadeless on all of them, and the second one is to add a light. Now I think personally for an overlay layer it's probably going to be easier on the computer not having a lamp, so it doesn't have to calculate that, and just setting it all on shadeless. But you know, you do whatever you want. I'm just going to be selecting shadeless and doing a different material for each object. So there we go. Once we've colored all our objects, we're going to have to select shadeless on all of them as well. So make sure you do that. Like so. And once you've done that, we can select our menu here, and we're going to give that a material as well, so it's visible. Then we're going to select shadeless, and we're going to make it a slightly grey colour, so something like that. So now if you press P on the keyboard and we go into text and view, there we go, should be popping up something like that. And if we press M, the background should be moving. Now we just need text for each of them, so we're going to add one here. We're going to add text, press tab to go into edit mode. Then yeah, with the text you can now type whatever you want. So we're going to type cube for the first one, just giving it names again. Cube, there we go, and press S to scale, and you just want to get it fitting in the box, but you want it, yeah, somehow like that. Then we're going to press Shift D, G, X, and this one's going to be called ball, there we go, something like that. Then Shift D, G, X again, and crystal is a slightly bigger name, so it has more letters, so we have to press S to scale again, and maybe this small, and we're going to press tab, and call this one crystal. So there you go. Once you have a good fitting name for all of them, you can, I guess, make some bigger than others. It's up to you. Then we're going to select our text here and then press Alt-C and mesh from curve/text, this one here. So do that for all of them. Then next thing we're going to do is I'm going to click new and we're just going to select shadeless straight away. Then we're going to do that for all of them. So you click on the text and then in the sidebar here and click number 8, so the most recent one, and do that for all of them as well. So there we go. Now we need to join each one up to its object. So monkey needs to be joined to monkey. So Control J. Oh no, Control J. Make sure you're joining it up to the object part, because yeah, otherwise the origin gets a bit messy. There we go. Once you've joined all those up, we can now select all of them by holding down Shift and selecting each one. Then we're going to hold down Shift again and click our menu and press Control P and parent. So now if we press P, then our menu should be up. There we go, our menu comes up, our menu goes down. There we go, and all our objects move with it. Now we're going to have to get into the messy logic bricks. So, yeah. Basically, what we need to do for each object now is add a visibility sensor. So, actually two actuators. One needs to be visible, and one needs to be invisible. So we're going to join those two up. Then, I think on here, we have to add a property for each one. So this one's going to be for cube, this one's going to be for ball, this one's going to be for crystal, and yeah, so on. So basically we need one for each one. Then change them all to true, and if you want to see them while you're playing, you can, or in the left side, we can click the information button and set them all to boolean, like so it's true or false. Then we're going to add a property, and it's going to be for the first one, so for cube, and if cube is equal to true on a true pulse, and we're going to add an A and an N. So an and a NAND, join those two up. And before we do anything else, we need to select each object, add two visibility sensors by pressing V when you've clicked them there. Then select B and press V twice, and just turn that second one off. There we go, so now you've got visibility sensors on everything. Then we're going to select our cube, hold down Shift and select the menu, and basically what we want to do is join those two together. So when the property cube here is equal to true, then the cube is equal to true, which just means it's visible. So we can minimize all those to give us lots of space for everything else. And then we're going to press P, add another property, and we can actually add one for each one. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 2 more. There we go. Okay, so there we go, we've just joined up the last one. Hopefully you guys did that in order, so from the cube all the way to the donut, one by one, because me being my silly self forgot to add all the properties in here. So the first one is cube on true, that's fine. The second one though, if you set it up right, hopefully, is going to be ball and on true as well. Select that, there we go, and basically the same for the next one. So next one is crystal, select crystal, and type in true, select a true pulse. And there we go, just add it for this one's donut, there we go, and set that on true as well. Now hopefully I didn't throw you guys off course there, hopefully you did do it in order. So the second one went to the sphere or the ball. So there we go, we have all our properties showing up the side. If we press M, it works, but yeah, if they're false they should be invisible, right? Why aren't they invisible? Basically, which is a really small trick, we just have to do is select our object here, go into the physics, select no collision and invisible. Basically what that just does is it allows the logic bricks to tell the objects when they should be visible or not, because if we just leave it on visible, it's always going to start off visible. So we'll just set all of those to no collision and invisible. There we go, last one. And there we go. So now if we press P, they're all on false and we can't see anything. But yeah, now we might want to walk around and pick up some of these objects. So basically what we need to do is add a sensor for each one. Now there are two ways you can go about doing this, and the first one is by going to your camera here and adding a ray sensor and adding in the property, say cube for example. So maybe just the property cube, and it will be on the negative Z axis and it'll be 15 or whatever. And yeah, basically you can do that, and then when you press a keyboard then it's going to go over and it's going to send a message. And although you could do that, a ray sensor, especially for like really complex systems like this, they sort of clog up the speed a bit. So what I sort of found out was a bit more BGE friendly was, instead of that, if you use collisions. So again, this is like the door, when you get within a certain distance you can open and close it. Collision sensor is just a sort of byproduct of the whole physics calculation, so it's sort of a little bit more yeah, I don't know, computer friendly, especially when considering the Blender game engine. So we're going to be using collision sensors. Now the first thing we need to do is separate our objects out by quite a bit. So the cube's going to go over here, ball's over here, crystal can go there, wood somewhere here, cone, monkey and donut. There we go, and you want them fairly far apart so you don't walk into like one sensor and it's overlapping, so then you pick up two objects. So we're going to press Shift A and we're going to add a cube, and then we're going to press, move it up, and then press SZ and scale it down, then S Shift Z, and that'll scale it sideways like that. And you want a fairly big radius, so yeah, so the player doesn't have to be standing like directly beside it to pick it up. So maybe something like that. Then in the physics here, we're going to select sensor, detect actors, and invisible. And there we go. You can call this cube sensor if you want. Then we're going to add a collision over here when it collides with the player on true, and we're going to add an AND controller as well, and then we're going to add one more AND controller and a keyboard sensor. Now this is the button for you to pick up an object, so in my case I'm going to just choose E to interact with it, just like in the door demo again. And for this second AND controller, well, we're going to have to add, join them up like that. So minimize all those. Now we need a text prompt telling you you can pick it up. So we're going to quickly press Shift A, add some text, and I'm going to press Tab, and then type press space E to pick up. There we go, seems fairly straightforward. Then I'm going to press RZ90, RZ180, and then move it along here, and it looks like my keyboard's being a pain, so make sure you've spelt it right before you do anything else. And press Tab again, and then RY90, and RY90. Looks like this is being a pain as well. There we go. So rotate it till it's facing you like this. I'm going to press RZ90, or RZ minus 90, then S, and we want it to be a fairly small size. Then we're going to move it up like that. Want it to be in front of the camera, so press S, and you just want the prompt to be fairly small at the bottom, so something like that, and fairly close to the camera as well. Then we're going to press Alt C and click curve to mesh / text. Then we're going to select the camera by holding down Shift and press Control P and parent to object. So now if we press P, we have our text there the whole time. This is going to have a material. Actually, we can just select number 8 here, which is shadeless as well. Okay, if you don't want that menu to be popping up while you're playing, drag to frame 0 here, and on the overlay drag to frame 0 as well. And if you go back to the main and we press P, then we have our prompt. But we don't always want it to be visible again, so we have to go to the physics and select invisible here. Then we're going to add 2 actuators, visibility actuators again, and you can just minimize those. Now what we want to do is, if our player is colliding with the sensor here, with collision bounds, then we want this text to be visible. So by doing that, we're going to have to individually, this is why we don't want to have more than 10, this is why you're going to have to individually join them up. So if we are colliding with it, but we haven't done anything, we want it to be visible. If we aren't, then we want it to be invisible. And if we press E and we're colliding with it, then we want it to be invisible as well, because that basically means we've picked up the object and we don't need to see the text anymore. Then we're going to select our sensor here, and we're going to press or add an edit object and an end object, because we want to get rid of that once we've picked up the object as well, because we don't need it anymore. Then we're going to select our object, add an edit object, end object, hold down Shift and select our sensor, again joining it up to that bottom one. We'll minimize all of those for now. Now one more thing to do, I think, and that is to send out a message to the overlay scene saying we've picked up an object and you should change that property to true. So this can be from either the cube sensor or the cube itself. You can choose whatever one, doesn't make a difference. And we're going to select message, join up to the bottom again, and it's going to send a message called cube T, capital T for true. And you can type in here or here, but what I found is easiest is if you just leave it, because then it sends a message to every object, or any object. So then if we go into our overlay here, and we go down to our camera, then we can add a message for cube T, add an and controller, and if we hold down shift, select the menu, which is already starting to get fairly messy, we can add a property. So property here, and it's going to assign cube to true. There we go. So join that one up with that one, minimize that, and basically that should work now, I think. We'll quickly try that out. Go to frame 0 here, then go to your main, go to frame 0 again, and now if we press P, walk over to this cube, we get our prompt. If we press E, it disappears, and if we press M to bring up our menu, there you go, there's a cube. There's our first sensor done. Then we want to rotate it slightly so it doesn't collide with the next one. You might even want to scale it a bit. Then we're going to press Shift D and duplicate it. And because we've already done the majority of the sensors for the first one, this one should be fairly easy to modify. So this is going to be ball sensor. And there's only one thing that this one does, and that is from the ball sensor, we don't want it to send a message, and we don't want it to end the object cube. There we go, that's it. That was the only problem there. We're going to hold down shift, select our ball here, add an end object, and join that one up to that. I think, oh yeah, and a message as well. Join that one up. This message is going to be ball T. So this icosphere seems a bit close, so maybe, I guess you can even just move it over here. You just don't want the message sensors, or the player sensors colliding, because yeah, otherwise your player can pick up two objects at the same time, which really sort of defeats the purpose. So this one's going to be called, not crystal sensor. And what this one isn't going to do is whatever ball was doing before. Then we're going to hold down shift, select crystal, edit object, end object, and a message. That's going to be crystal T. Now, one important thing to make sure you do right is the spelling, because that can often cause quite a few slip-ups if you get that wrong. So make sure you don't drag from these, because we don't want to join up to the ball sensor, we want the crystal sensor down here. So we're going to join those ones up. So you have to make sure you got the right name there. I'm going to move that down a bit. Then we're going to select the sensor here, press Shift D again, this time for the wood. So SY, just a bit, because we can. And crystal sensor 01, I'm going to rename it to wood sensor. Then we need to get rid of the ending crystal and sending a message, so these two. Then we're going to hold down shift, select the wood object, add an edit object and a message. end object, and this message is going to be wood T. And now make sure you don't select ball sensor again, so just scroll down until you find wood sensor, which should be at the bottom, and we'll join those two up. So here's where it sort of starts getting a bit messy and stretched, so you might want to watch out for that. A good sort of hint, especially if you're working with heaps and heaps and heaps of these, if you want to get one of these up to the top, they're arranged alphabetically, so if you just put A in front of it, it will immediately jump up to the top here, just to sort of make your life a bit easier. But nope, that's fine, we don't need to do that just yet. Then we're going to select our sensor here, do one for the cone, we only have 2 more left, should be fine. Then just move it in the center, we can make it a little bit bigger, and this one, I'll rename it to cone sensor, and there we go, it should be working fine, but it will be connected to the wood, so we want to get rid of these top two here. Then we're going to hold down shift, select the cone, add an E for edit object, end object, and an M for message, and we're going to send cone T. Now we need to find our cone sensor, which is here, and scroll in a bit so you guys can see. So just this one here and the bottom one, join those two up, then we can minimize them and do the monkey. I might just scale that a bit. If you wanted to, I guess you could parent them, so you can just move one and it moves everything, but yeah, then scaling sort of mucks up. Then we're going to select this cone sensor 01, change it to monkey sensor, and we're going to get rid of these two, so holding down control and dragging to get rid of them. Then I think that should be it. We're going to hold down shift, select the monkey, add an edit object and a message. It's going to be end object, and this one's going to be monkey T. Then we're going to join it up to the monkey sensor. So that is, oh, we might need to start making the window a bit bigger. The monkey sensor is here, and we want to join that one up to the top here. There we go, monkey T and end object. There we go. So there we go, second to last one done. Now the last one, shift D again to duplicate the sensor, and yeah, rotate it a bit if you want. I'm gonna actually make this floor bigger by selecting it and pressing S, just so our player can go from all angles. Then we're going to make this window bigger again, and this monkey sensor 01 needs to be called donut sensor, and two here that are out of place are the ones joined to monkey, so hold down control and drag over those to get rid of them. Then we're going to select our donut, hold down shift, select the donut sensor, and we're going to actually select our donut again, so hold down shift, and if you can sort of alternate between which object is active by clicking the different one. So make sure the actual donut has the yellow around it. Then we're going to add an edit object up here, end object, a message, and this one's going to be donut T. So there we go. There is most of that done. Now if we need to go into this window and press Control up arrow, and that will make this window nice and big. Now down here we need to get the donut sensor, and we need to join those two up. There we go, like so. So if, as you can see, it's already a quite a big mess, and if you're planning on adding anything else to it, it's just going to be a nightmare to work with. But yeah, there we go. Now we can go to the overlay scene, select the camera, and add 6 more message sensors. This one can be for ball T. This one is for crystal T. And the next one is for wood. Again, hopefully you remember the names. If you don't, you have the icons there. It can sort of help. There we go. Put all of those in there. Monkey T, and the last one, donut T. There we go. Lots and lots of sensors. Lovely. I'd minimize all those just to give us as much space as possible. Then hold down Shift, select the menu, and add, oh no, don't press P, click here and press Y, and do that 6 times as well. Then the first one's going to be assign ball to true, and hopefully, I'm not sure if it makes a difference, but it looks neater. The next one's going to be crystal to true, and the next one is going to be cone, I think. Nope, the next one is wood. So that to true, and then the next one is cone. So select, oh no, not cube, cone. Set that to true, and monkey, set that one to true as well, and then I'm going to select donut and set that one to true as well. Oh, so many properties. Then we're going to have to join them all up, so we're going to have to add and sensors because they're 2 different objects. Join the first one up to the, actually there's too small to work with, so put your mouse in there, control up arrow, then yep, the first message goes to the AND controller, which goes to the first property, second message, second AND controller, second property, and so on until we've got all of these joined up. So yeah, as you can see, this is getting pretty messy, and it sort of gets messy on both layers, and if this somehow comes together in one scene, it's just gonna, yeah, it's gonna be all over the place. This is again why Python is probably, you probably can't do any harm learning Python. It's probably actually quite beneficial. But anyway, I'm going to minimize all those just to make it look like it's using up less space. And if you've set it up right and we press Control down arrow, then this should work. So make sure it's on frame 0 again, go to the main, make sure that's on frame 0. Now if we press 0, scroll on a bit, and just get it something like that. Now press P, we go, all our objects. Let's say I just want to get this one, move up to it, press E, disappears. If I press M to bring up the menu, here we go, monkeys in there. So our monkeys in our inventory, maybe I want a donut next. There we go, the donut's in, maybe something not in order, so maybe just a crystal. There we go, oh, and if we press M, oh, we're in the wrong sensor, so we picked up the wood one. Oh well. So if we pick up our crystal, there we go, there's our crystal. We pick up our cone, there's our cone, and yeah, there we go. It should be, actually we can just press M, leave the menu up there. There we go, there's all our objects in our inventory. So basically, as you guys saw before, there's sort of a bit of trouble with both of these sensors mucking up, so I'm going to move them apart. Hopefully if you're doing like a horror game or something, you'll have each sort of part fairly sort of separate from anything else. But yeah, so there we go. Now we have our object here. So there you go, guys. Hope you enjoyed the tutorial. Hope I didn't bore you guys too much. It's very, very messy. If you think any of your friends might want to sort of be interested in making a huge mess of an inventory using just logic bricks, then yeah, feel free to share anything. It's greatly appreciated if you guys leave a like or something. But yeah, thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you guys in part 2.